Welcome to the Wild About Turkey Hunting podcast, a show for those who love the thrill of that first morning gobble, who love sharing the outdoors with a close friend, and for those who never want to stop learning about this awesome ritual we call spring turkey hunting. I'm Josh Davis, host and creator of the YouTube channel Davis Family Hunts. I'm wild about turkey hunting, and I bet you are too. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. If there's anything that most turkey hunters would agree upon about wild turkeys, it's that they can be stubborn and unpredictable creatures. Any hunter who's got a few seasons under his vest knows this to be true. Just when you think you've got him coming in on a string, he'll hold his ground, or he'll go the other way, or he'll completely vanish into thin air, or so it seems. So today we're going to take a look at several scenarios you might encounter this spring, and more importantly, we'll talk about what you can do to give yourself the advantage. There's a giveaway going on right now, and you're invited to join for free. Just head over to davisfamilyhunts.com and sign up for our newsletter. Once you do that, you'll get a link to enter the giveaway. This is your shot at winning a cool prize package, which includes a really nice personalized box call, perfect for bringing in that next long beard this spring. Don't wait too long because this chance won't last forever, so make sure you enter today. Again, just go to davisfamilyhunts.com, sign up for our newsletter, use the link to enter the giveaway, and get ready for your chance to win a prize package that can help you succeed in the turkey woods. Now, let's get back to the show. On today's episode, we'll do a breakdown of 8 scenarios you might find yourself in while you're out there trying to outsmart the king of spring. We'll also discuss 8 things you can do to stack the odds in your favor, so let's get started. Tough scenario number 1 is that the gobbler won't come to you. Probably the most frustrating scenario that most hunters encounter each spring is that the gobbler simply won't come into your setup. Even though this poses a problem to us hunters who want to wrap our tag around the long spurred leg of a gobbler, the reality is that we're just trying to reverse nature's playbook. Let me remind you that it's natural for a gobbler to stand out there, strut, and gobble, and expect the hen to come walking up to him. The Creator made a magnificent bird when he created wild turkeys, and part of their design was that males would attract females to themselves. And more often than not, when a turkey won't come to you, it's because he wants you to come to him. Well, obviously, a full-grown human can't just walk up to a gobbler and expect him to have a positive reaction. So we've got to do what we can do to entice that turkey and reverse his inclinations and get him to come to where we are hiding. So let's say that you've been calling and the conversation with that tom has been going really well. You yelp and he gobbles. You cut, and he double gobbles, and all the while, he's closed the gap from 200 yards when you first heard him to now when he's only 75 yards away. It seems like the hunt was going to be a slam dunk, but then all of a sudden, it's like there's an invisible line in the forest floor that the turkey is not willing to cross. You've been talking back and forth for the last 20 minutes, and he seems interested, but it's clear that he's not going to budge, and you can't get any closer. So what should you do? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to play on his ego. I'm going to mimic a hen who has a sudden mood change. I'm going to let him hear my hen talk, but I'm going to sound almost uninterested and seem content to experience his lack of company. And to do this, you're going to slow down the frequency of your calling, and you're going to make your calls much softer. Purrs and clucks and maybe the occasional soft yelp is going to get the message across. All the while, you're backing away as you call. Drift back at least far enough that he gets the impression that you're moving on. Even if he's still gobbling at you, keep to the script. The hope is that he'll take the bait and close the gap. But after you've pretended to fade off, you need to quickly and quietly sneak back up to your original setup and wait him out. You need to be ready with your gun up because he's likely going to make his advance quietly. So keep as still as you can with your eyes constantly scanning the woods back and forth for movement. Listen for any footsteps. Pay attention for spitting and for drumming. Make sure you're comfortable because you should be waiting for at least 30 minutes. I'd go as long as an hour if you really want to make the most of the silent treatment. You'd be surprised how long afterward a gobbler can still show up. Or he may come in gobbling out of desperation. But if he does, resist the urge to call unless you need him to raise his head for a shot or he seems to be moving past you out of range. But more than anything, prepare for him to be silently and eagerly scanning the woods for his hen. In tough scenario number 2, it's that the gobbler is henned up. There are a lot of times when hunters say that gobblers are henned up. but there are a few ways to determine if it's just an excuse for difficult hunting or if it's a real situation. One easy way to verify if a gobbler is henned up is that you actually see or hear hens with the gobbler. You may hear hens calling from the roost around the tom, or you may see several hens out in the field with a gobbler and strut, and it can be difficult to hunt henned up gobblers, but several strategies can work. Sometimes it's possible to pull a gobbler from his hens. One of the first things that I'll try to do is stick with subtle, unaggressive calling. I'll call to the tom in hopes of piquing his interest by floating some quiet yelps and clucks and purrs in his direction. It needs to be done with plenty of patience, too. Turkey hunters often make the mistake of trying to force the issue, but remember, you may be on a limited schedule, but the turkeys are not. They're living on turkey time. And it's best to slow play the situation and keep moving along with the birds. So long as the flock is contently hanging out nearby, a tom might just drift in toward your calling, eager to pick up a lady friend who seems to be showing more interest than the ones that he can see around him. During this time, you may even catch the attention of one or more of his hens that are accompanying him. And if that happens, she may begin calling back to you, but keep it subtle and keep it light. Your talk should be cordial and friendly. So long as she is courteous, do the same. You need to realize that talking to a hen is different than talking with a gobbler. You're having a different conversation with her. You don't want to just get her mad thinking that you've come to take her boyfriend. She may come in to look for the new girl and bring her date along too. Now would not be a good time to crank it up and get aggressive with her. Calling aggressively to a boss hen and trying to get her fired up should be only done when you are matching her temperament. Again, only get aggressive if she does. And whatever she says, repeat it right back to her. However, too often hunters hear that you should get the old boss hen fired up and she'll come storming in and bring the gobbler in tow. And that does work, but it's probably why so many people have passed along this tactic to others around turkey camp. But more often than not, if you just show up yelling at a hen and trying to pick a fight with her out of nowhere, she's just going to head the opposite direction and do it in a hurry. And guess what? That long beard is going to be following her, and you just lost your chance. It's a low percentage tactic. Keep it light and keep it soft. That's the best way to go. And I've got one more bonus tactic you can try when dealing with henned up turkeys, and I'll share that for our podcast insiders. So go ahead to our insider page and you can check that out now. If you're not a podcast insider, you can be, and it's super simple to get set up. To get the special link for free bonus content on the members only part of our website, you need to sign up for our newsletter. And it's totally free, and you can sign up using the sign up link in the notes for this podcast, or you can just go to davisfamilyhunts.com and sign up right there on the homepage. After you sign up, you'll get a link to check out bonus tips from this episode and much more. Again, that's davisfamilyhunts.com. Get signed up for our newsletter, and you can pick up more from our insiders page, which gives you extra content, special discounts on merch, and more. All right, so let's dive into another scenario that you might find yourself in this spring. The gobbler is feeling pressure. The woods can get pretty crazy and fast for a turkey during the spring. It doesn't take long for turkey hunter interference to begin taking its toll on a gobbler's awareness. Put yourself in a turkey's position for a moment. You've heard hens, you've come in to take a look, and you see a hen. That's what's happened for weeks now as the breeding season ramps up. Now imagine the day that you hear a hen and you walk in and see a 5-foot 9-inch giant bumbling in the woods. Instantly, that gobbler's radar goes up, knowing everything in his normal world just went south. Now imagine a few days of being called up, spotting a hunter, maybe even being shot at, and trying his best to keep his spurs about him. He's starting to feel the pressure of human presence in his space. Now I don't want to say that a turkey necessarily gets call shy, but I do think that they get people shy. He may answer your calls because he truly thinks that you're a hen, but he is also aware of the potential hazards that may once again reveal themselves if he decides to close the distance. So he stands out there and he gobbles a lot, but he's not coming in anytime soon. However, there's a chance that things can still come together for you. If you'll remain out there, you know that he is already out there too. Sometimes not calling at all is the best approach. Slow down and live on turkey time. Find a comfortable spot and just take it easy. Set your calls beside you and just blend into the woods around you. Rest your eyes. Take a nap. Let your ears do the watching as you soak up the morning. When you find yourself just blending into the surroundings, you'll be surprised as to how many turkeys you may just see. On a recent out-of-state hunt, my dad and I slowed down and just took it easy after trying to work a few birds that just wouldn't play the game. So we made a small makeshift blind and brushed ourselves in while overlooking a pinch point between two adjoining fields. And within minutes, we had a hen pass through. 30 minutes later, two jakes walked by. And none of those birds made a sound on that piece of public land, but they were there, doing their normal turkey behavior. Later on that afternoon, we called in two toms from that same spot after they started gobbling on their own, and Dad killed the lead bird as they closed the gap. And it was almost 6 hours since we had last talked with those toms. As the time passes, turkeys have a chance just to do what turkeys do, and you can relieve some of the hunting pressure they feel just by slowing down and minimizing your invasive presence. If you can't help but think that you need to do something to draw a gobbler's attention, keep it light. Scratching the leaves every once in a while, or maybe add a few purrs and clucks, but keep it few and far between. A passive approach might just help you wrap a tag around that wary gobbler's legs. Sometimes as people, we just get in a hurry. We want microwaved results, and we've done so much in our culture to satisfy our impatient desires. But the woods still operate on its ancient schedule. In Psalm 62:5, the writer says, "My soul, wait in silence for God alone, for my hope is from Him." There's something meaningful and fulfilling about just slowing our pace and enjoying the creation around us. The woods in the springtime can be just the ticket. When you feel hurry, you usually rush your hunt, trying to quicken the outcome, which usually creates careless errors and spoils the hunt. Hunting and life in general have a lot in common. I know I benefit in either category by easing the pressure. Try it for yourself, pausing and just sitting back, refusing to be rushed, declaring that hurry has no place in your life. You might just find more satisfaction and greater results in the pursuit. Let's talk about tough scenario number 4, that the gobbler doesn't like decoys. No matter how realistic some decoys may be, that doesn't always mean that a real longbeard is buying what you're trying to sell. Some of the reasons may be because the decoy just does not display much movement. If he doesn't see some natural motion, it may make him suspicious. Sometimes it's the position of the decoy. It's not set up in a natural place so the turkey would be comfortable standing. And I'll also add that though it's not always the case, most of my experiences reveal to me that turkeys are more comfortable and responsive to decoys in open areas and seem to shy away from the ones that are set up in the woods. Sometimes he just doesn't care about company at all, and even though he's seen the decoy, he simply moves on. The bottom line is that when hunting one particular bird, it may take a day or more to figure out what he does and what he does not like. If he seems to shy away from the deeks, then ditch them and go full hide-and-seek mode with him. In scenario number 5, it may be that the gobbler needs to see decoys, because the opposite may be true. If the gobbler feels like he should see a bird, then let him see one. This is especially true in scenarios where you are out in the wide open. When a turkey can see a long way, give him something to look at. Often this goes hand in hand with hunting from a blind that is set up out in the middle of a field. Now personally, I like to play the terrain and keep the hunt in the woods if possible, trying to get him within killing range the moment that he appears, but that's not always probable. So a decoy or multiple decoys can help paint a more realistic picture of the deception that you're trying to paint. Some of my most preferred times for using decoys is if I'm hunting with young hunters, first-timers, or if I have access to a field that turkeys are using, but don't have permission to hunt the woods that they are approaching from. Again, if you feel the calling situation would leave him skeptical, then by all means give him a visual. And tough scenario number 6 is that the gobbler needs competition. Sometimes the boss of the woods is content with leaving a blind date off in the bush. And his confidence assures him that if she's desperate enough, she'll come to him. And while that may be true in the sense of real hens, you as the hunter cannot just walk up to him and join his company. So if the tom seems uninterested in your hen calls, then why not challenge his dominance instead? Make him think that another gobbler has moved in on his ladies. There are several ways that you could introduce a masculine presence into the mix. Plant a jake or a tom decoy in your setup. Mimic some male turkey vocalizations. Can you throw out a gobble? Add in some jake yelps or make some gobbler yelps? Ray I is a world-renowned turkey hunter, teacher, and author who has spent over 45 years hunting turkeys and is probably one of the best in his class at gobbler yelping. He relies heavily on gobbler yelping through the spring, and it would be worth your while to take a deeper look into what he has to say on the subject. The reality is that there are male birds that go through the season seemingly very uninterested in looking for love as well. They may gobble a few times at your hen calls, but they really don't have much interest. It also seems that some turkeys are fighters instead of lovers. If he thinks he's the baddest boy in the block, then challenge his ego. Dupe him into thinking he's got a competitor in his territory. You can work up the scene by creating a gobbler fight and make him feel like he's missing out on a real brawl. Of course, always a word of caution here. Make sure that you are well aware of your surroundings and keep an eye out for other hunters. Even if you're on private land, every spring there are hunters who accidentally or intentionally end up in places where they shouldn't be. Using male decoys and male vocalizations should be used wisely and carefully, but they can be just the ticket when a gobbler has a personality of a real aggressor. So let's look at tough scenario number 7. The gobbler has patterned you. Are you guilty of hunting the same way every time you hit the woods? Is it possible that the turkey has patterned you? If you hunt the same trails at the same time of day and use the same trusty box call that you did the last 3 days in a row, you may be in a rut. And it's easy to do when certain tactics or approaches have worked for you in the past. But admit it when those old bag of tricks just aren't cutting it. Think about your past few encounters with a particularly difficult bird. What could you have done differently? Think out of the box. Try approaching the roost from another direction. If you've been calling aggressively, why not take a passive approach? Get off the trails. Stop running the same calling sequence. You get the point here. Turkeys are unpredictable, and you should be too. A new angle or a new method might be beneficial for you. Don't let your calling game get stale. Mix it up and see if it gets you some new results. All right, and our final tough scenario to cover today is that the gobbler needs double trouble. Sometimes the only way to defeat a turkey is to double team him. In Season 1, Episode 4, all of the content is dedicated to the teamwork approach for killing a longbeard, but I'll give you a brief breakdown of one of my favorite ways to double team a bird. If there's a curve in the land, like a bend in a logging road or a power line or a gas line, if you can find a spot where the tom has to turn the corner in order to see the hen that he thinks he's chasing, that's a killer move. The shooter should be about 30 yards away from the tom's view that is blocked. I like to usually get in on that inside corner, and he should be ready with the gun aimed and waiting to identify the target. And the second hunter, who is the one calling, hangs back another 40 yards or more behind the shooter. So as the turkey gets closer, he believes that the hen is still further down the path. Because of that, he can confidently move forward until he thinks that he should see her. So he might come around the bend less carefully because he thinks that he still has some distance to go before he needs to slow down and entice the hen, making sounds like spitting and drumming from a distance. He's focused on a scenario that's much further away from where the first hunter is hiding. And if you didn't catch that episode, I highly recommend that you give it a listen. I'll leave a link in the show details for you so that you can make the most of getting after a stubborn gobbler with the help of a buddy. There are several ways you can hatch a plan together for giving that tom a ride home in the back of your truck. So there you have it, 8 ways that you can try to tip the odds in your favor. And if none of those tactics work for you, remember that the bird has the name wild in front of the word turkey. The greatest awareness that you can give to any particular hunt is to read the bird's mood and preferences and try to match the situation accordingly. If that bird is being stubborn, make a new move. The cat and mouse game of turkey hunting is one of the things that makes it so fun, and you never really go on the same turkey hunt twice. I hope that this spring you will make the right move. And before we wrap up, I want to remind you that if you want to submit a question to be answered on my podcast, I encourage you to use the podcast tab on our website. We'll select a question to cover during a future show, and if we use your question in the show, we'll send you a small gift pack which will include some stickers and some other special items for your next hunt. I hope to reconnect with you in another 2 weeks for the next Turkey Tuesday for another episode. But in the meantime, I encourage you to visit our YouTube channel, Davis Family Hunts. We've got everything from the sounds that turkeys make to our fun turkey hunting trips with the kids. And we'd really love it if you would subscribe so you don't miss any of our turkey hunting content. We'd also appreciate it if you followed us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Davis Family Hunts on either app, and you can keep up with what we're doing there and chat with us. And don't forget, you can also visit our website, davisfamilyhunts.com. In both turkey hunting and faith, the more you know and apply, the better you'll get. The more of an adventure it becomes. I hope you have a blast enjoying your time outdoors, whether you're hunting turkeys or just spending time with God. The pursuit is wild. Never stop learning.